Everyone, and welcome to the Oaks Countdown. Nicole Russo in Lexington, Kentucky, and Dan Illman in our New York studio. And all of the qualifying point races for the Kentucky Oaks are in the books. Let's take a look at the final point standings. Tour de spot in the 14-horse field for the Oaks. You'll see the top 14 there. And then the first two who are on the outside looking in right now. Now keep in mind that the final point standings, not necessarily the final field, as of course we'll be watching to see how everybody trains coming up to the race, if anybody elects to skip the race. Serengeti Empress, who was a question mark after bleeding in the Fairgrounds Oaks, did get back on the work tab this morning at Churchill Downs. She's going to have one more work before they decide her status. Of course, the two looking to get in at the moment will be, kind of eagerly watching what's going on there and with other situations. But the two jumping into the 14 and solidifying their spots in the final points race, the Fantasy at Oaklawn, were Lady Apple and Motion Emotion, Dan.
Lady Apple and Motion Emotion both ran very, very well at Oaklawn. We'll get to Lady Apple in a minute, but you have to start feeling a little bit sorry for Motion Emotion, who's just run two giant races at Oaklawn only to get pipped in the last 16th of a mile both times. She is a speedball with a lot of talent, but in looking at the point standings, you see other speed horses. The aforementioned Serengeti Empress. Of course, Jaywalk brings a little bit of speed to the party. I'm not sure what kind of form she's in right now, but Motion Emotion, if somehow she can get an easy lead, maybe she can last the demanding mile in an eighth. One of these days, she's going to get a well-deserved win.
Oh, absolutely. I agree that she's one of those knocking on the door. And, she's another one who's going to be very closely watching the status of Serengeti Empress, as that will determine a lot in the pace scenario for this Oaks. But we'll get back to Lady Apple, and we'll throw up her past performances here for you in a second. And Lady Apple is a filly we talked about a lot last year in some 2-year-old races. You'll see she was second in her maiden, going 4.5 at Keeneland. She was a stakes place 2-year-old. But Dan, we talked about her quite a bit as a filly with a nice pedigree. And we said, being by Curlin, with some of the female family, we really thought that she would improve given distance and given experience. And that's certainly been the case this year, 3 for 3 on the season.
And she's also a late foal, which made us think that maybe with more experience in racing, she would certainly improve. Now, there are going to be some fans who poo-poo her as an Oaklawn horse for course. They're going to see that all 3 of her lifetime victories have come at Oaklawn. Her pedigree, though, is so versatile. She has a lot of sprint on the bottom, but boy, she's picked up her game since being stretched out around 2 turns, and that really says it all about the quality of her stallion, Curlin. Lady Apple showed the ability to rate in the Fantasy. I think that's a great sign moving forward. We see her coming right up the rail. Now, she did have a perfect trip and ride under Ricardo Santana, but don't you get the feeling, Nicole, that Lady Apple is coming up to the Kentucky Oaks the right way?
I really do. And, I really love watching her come through inside there. That's a level of gameness that, that you want to see in a horse moving on to a really prestigious race with a field that's going to be larger than some of these fillies have faced so far. I really like the way she won that race. I really like the way that I mean, she just seems to have turned the corner since being put away as a 2-year-old to coming back at 3, was a sharp maiden winner, and then came back to win these 2 races around 2 turns. And really that female family, as you said, so versatile. But then you put Curlin on top. Curlin, we always cite his record in the American Classic races. He puts nothing but stamina into a horse.
And this filly has shown the ability to win on wet or dry surfaces, on the lead or off. I'm assuming if all the speeds stay intact, Lady Apple is going to be sitting in a good spot in the second flight, along with a horse like Bellafina, who right now is going to be a fairly heavy favorite, I would think, going into the Kentucky Oaks. But Lady Apple's confidence has to be sky high. She does have that tactical speed. She is trained by a master horseman in Steve Asmussen. And I would have to think that Lady Apple is right now sort of an under-the-radar price horse for the Oaks.
I certainly think that she is. She's done nothing wrong this year, but, for all the reasons you mentioned with Bellafina, I'm sorry, Bellafina, apologies to the filly, coming in as your undisputed favorite. I do think that you're going to get value on a lot of very nice horses, and Lady Apple is one of them. And I should point out, before we're done with her pedigree, that that versatile female family, she's actually from the extended family of Affirmed.
It's a Triple Crown winner, to be sure, so we don't have to worry about distance with Lady Apple. And again, I want you to give the Curlin stat that you love so much and you usually give out on the DRF Breeding Report. Listen, it's a valuable stat for Curlin fans.
Yeah, you know, Curlin, from each of his crops of 3-year-olds from his first crop in 2013 through last year, produced a winner or a placed horse in the American Triple Crown Series, led by 2013 Belmont winner Palace Malice, 2016 Preakness winner Exaggerator, a couple of runners-up in the Kentucky Derby, including Good Magic just last year. All these horses want to do is run 2 turns.
And Lady Apple has proven the ability. She is 2 for 2 around 2 turns and again has that versatile running style. Bellafina is obviously the horse to beat. She might have the most natural talent of any of the Oaks entrants. But she's no slam dunk because I think there are a lot of folks that are going to question her pedigree at 1 1/8, question her ability shipping. We've seen some of the issues she had when she shipped to Churchill Downs as the favorite in last year's Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. My advice right now would be to try to seek value on horses like Lady Apple or even another under-the-radar contender that could be flying late. We'll be discussing pedigrees maybe next week of the fillies that might best want 1 1/8.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we're in the final countdown here to the Kentucky Oaks on the first Friday in May. As we said, all the points races are in the books. The field is really going to start to solidify now as trainers kind of dot their I's and cross their T's. And we will bring you up to date on the field and all of the latest developments next week right here on the Oaks Countdown.